All right, got an issue here. We don't have any ears at all, man. I think when I dropped it, it broke. It broke. Of course, I just moved all of my extra gear out of the studio. One sec. All right. Yep, we're going to go earless tonight. That's going to sound weird, so I'm not going to be able to really play any videos or anything because, yeah, I won't be able to hear it. Will not be able to hear it. You guys can all hear me and see me okay, though, right? All good? All good, hopefully. Okay. All right. Welcome into the Rockhound Detroit Lions mailbag, man. Motor City mailbag. It is Thursday night. And again, we're just a couple of days away here from the Detroit Lions playing their last preseason game. Suffered a major injury today in practice. Still don't have the final news there on what happened to Graham. I doubt that we're going to get any information this quickly. Could be tomorrow. Could be. Doubtful, but it could be. I'm just hoping that he's all right. I haven't seen anything other than speculation that people are saying that he thinks, or they think that he's going to be okay. Anytime a player's that pissed off that they're injured, like that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign at all. Looks like we have like hardly anybody in here tonight. I don't know why that is. Yeah, Lions have been tight-lipped. Lions have been tight-lipped on just about everything this year. So, yeah, the major injury, Maureen. You were in there earlier, weren't you? Weren't you in the post-practice update with Graham Glasgow? Graham Glasgow went down during practice today. I'm just making sure that you knew that. If not, that's all right. We'll cover it briefly. Tonight is about the Motor City mailbag, really. So it's about your questions. See, that's what's going to suck. I'm not going to be able to hear anybody calling in. I have no headphones here, do I? I don't think I do. All right, Amazon. Okay, so tonight's going to suck. That's all right. It's been a crappy day for me anyway. So we'll just kind of get into it. Let me put this earbud in that I can barely hear out of, because that's going to help. Let me get my sheet up. Okay, so for some reason my article didn't drop. I will make sure it gets out tonight. This is a weird article. So it's the Detroit Lions roster. It's the 53-man roster prediction. There's some slight changes from the one that we did the other night. But I went really deep on some things, kind of explaining, the rules, if you will, around the roster, in case you didn't know and don't really feel like looking at all the different areas. I kind of walked through the current active PUP, NFI, and the active PUP for return, the new non-designated injuries, the players that I'm expecting that are going to be on some sort of a list. And then I put the rocks locks in. So what's different this year is I'm using a little bit more of the emojis, if you will. And so I found a little padlock and a padlock that's unlocked. And I went through the defensive line. So we have 18 defensive linemen on the roster right now. And so I went through all of them except for two. Two of them I didn't even say a word about. And you can probably guess which two those are. One of them, his name begins with an A, and then the other one, his name begins with an A. So I didn't talk about either of them because I don't think we need to worry about them. And honestly, all I put on there was enough said. They're locked in and they're not going anywhere for a while. But I did talk about the other 16. And I did give, I guess a little bit of a different review about each, what we're expecting from them. As far as leaders, right? What are we expecting from their veteran presence? How does their positional flex help this team in the roster cut down phase? And I think that that's a big part of it. But you guys know, the ones that have been here from the very beginning of this show, you've watched the evolution of this show kind of take shape, right? From my early takes to what I expected to happen down the line. And I guarantee you, just like we did with Sione Vaki the other night, we went back and watched like a 14-month-old video, and all of it was fairly true to what we're seeing today with Sione Vaki. And the fact that he was even drafted after I made that video is crazy enough. But what I spoke about him was damn near spot on. I kind of been saying the same thing about the roster and the roster roulette and how I envision a GM making draft picks or making selections now with the draft picks and later. Like what you do now, what does it mean for later? How do you build a roster so that it's good today, but then also sustains later? What can you do with projects? How many projects can you have? How many can you have back then? And what's going to happen in 2025 and 2026 when you can no longer have those projects, right? And matter of fact, it's hilarious. I wish this would have dropped yesterday. I just wasn't quite done. But then we hear Brad Holmes talk about, the whole project thing, right? That this might be a roster where you may not be able to have them. He can't waste, any time anymore because there's some really good football players. And I guess it really depends on which position it is. There's not really many positions on this roster outside of corner that I feel you can have a project. And thanks, Eric, for following up with that about the Pat O'Connor who had the large ice wrap on his left calf. So Pat O'Connor was another one that was injured today. But it's Graham Glasgow's the big one, man. That's the one I'm worried about the most right now. But at the same time, how close is Miles Frazier? How close is he? And how, how good is... So it's interesting, right? What are we going to watch this weekend? Offensive line. A lot. Right, and see the guys that are getting in. But anyway, the evolution, man. Evolution has been a word that I chose for this team in my second season intro video, and I thought that was just going to be a perfect word to describe the vehicle that Brad and Dan were going to be driving with this team and all the stops along the way that they make, how the team continues to evolve and get better, right? What I was just saying a minute ago about corner is that I think that's the only position, maybe linebacker, probably linebacker too, but I would say that corner might be the only position that we could really get better at after the starters, right? If you don't have Amik Robertson on this roster next year, that's a problem. I can't imagine them walking away from. I'd be trying to sign Amik right now to an extension. I really would. I think he's a guy that you want to continue to have on this team. But behind them, right, Ennis Rakestraw. You know, we hear a lot about Brad Holmes when people say or fans say, "Why did you take Broderick Martin? What a huge miss, right? What a waste of a roster spot." Okay. And then you hear fans getting on Ennis Rakestraw that he's going to get cut. And it's the same fans talking about Broderick Martin. Okay. Is Ennis Rakestraw a wasted roster spot then? Because he hasn't played in 2 years. He's not going to play for 2 years. Broderick Martin will have more snaps than Ennis Rakestraw. Broderick Martin will have affected the game more than Ennis Rakestraw. Let that sink in. Let that sink in for a moment. So is Ennis Rakestraw now considered a project because he's constantly injury prone? Broderick Martin will have missed more games than Marcus Davenport. So where are you putting Ennis Rakestraw now? You see how that foolish conversation it kind of makes people look really silly? That they throw all of these taglines out on these players' heads and it just comes back to smack them right in the face because there's other players on this roster that are dealing with things. There's other players on this roster that haven't helped this team out yet. Yet is the key word. But they're still around. And they're still around because, I mean, it's a collective. If you have 53 football players and you have three that maybe you could have done a lot better at. Well, those three could be a scratch every week too. I think that we're kind of the old term like beggars can't be choosers, right? At what point are we begging to play Madden in the NFL? Because I think that's just what some people think it is. You can't just have the best of the best at every position, every depth position, every backup position. It doesn't work that way, right? Anyway, going all the way back, it's the evolution of this team. And now we're at a point where it's a boiling point, where now those projects, which you needed before, maybe you can't have them anymore. And in this case, in the defensive line, that's especially true. Because there's going to be some really good football players that are going to get cut as it is. And if you were to keep one of them players over Broderick Martin, you're going to hear the world come crashing down on Brad Holmes' head. Or say it the other way. If Broderick Martin is kept over Miles Adams, the sky is falling in Detroit. 1,000%. That's what people are going to say. At that point when he was taken, probably didn't see his upside. He probably didn't see the rarity in his body size and type. And all he needed was some snaps. And last year, man, he got wiped out by that knee injury. It happens. Right? But this year he needed to get after it. The problem that he was up against is that this was the season. What have I always said? Do you guys remember how many years I gave this team from day one of 2021 to being Super Bowl contenders, like legit Super Bowl contenders, not not hoping and praying and wishing upon a star, right? But really saying that this should be the year that we could really compete. That was close. It was 4. I mean, I'm not going to make you guess all day. It was 4. I said that Brad needed 4 drafts. 4 drafts. This is the year that, to your point, Trace, this is the year that we should always be competing, right? But you needed 4 drafts. And why is that? Why did we need 4 drafts? We needed 4 drafts. Let me see what we got going on ads. If you guys can get those likes up pretty quickly, we'll get these ads dialed back. But the reason why you need 4 drafts is every team has 7 picks. And assuming you hang on to all your picks, 4 years, 7 picks, 28 players. You need 25 football players to field a full team of offense, defense, special teams. 25. 11, and 3. It's 25 football players. So if you have 4 years to build a squad and you have 28 picks and you make a couple of moves with a few of them, right? You're easily going to bring in 20 football players with those picks, probably. Then you take into consideration that the top 2 rounds, those players should start almost immediately, depending on what your roster is. Our roster was nothing when they first started. It was nothing. It was negative. Really, it was. It was negative. We had no money. We could barely sign rookies in 2021. In 2022, it was largely the same. But after 2022, you could start to see, man, 2023's draft, it sent this team into the next level. It was the best draft that Brad Holmes has ever had. It was 2023. 4 immediate starters taken in the first 2 rounds. So 4 drafts, 28 possible players, but out of those first 4 drafts, you're only considering the fact that you might have 8 players that should be starting because you got 8 first and second round picks. So if you're counting on 8, what Brad has done with the trade is he added an extra first round pick. So that's 9, right? Or I'm sorry, he added 2 extra first round picks, I think. So that's, didn't he? He got 2 first round picks for Stafford. So that should be 10. And then you expect, out of 4 years, let's just say you hit 50%. And if you hit 50%, then maybe you have a couple of third round picks or a third and a fourth, or how about an Amon-Ra St. Brown that ends up being one of the best ever that end up starting. So now you're getting closer to 12, 13 picks out of 4 years that should be starting at a high level. Now they have to stay healthy. Well, that didn't happen for Levi Onwuzurike. That didn't happen for Josh Paschal. That didn't happen for Broderick Martin. It certainly didn't happen for Ennis Rakestraw. So now you can wipe 4 picks off the plate, right? And now you're counting on some of those later rounds that you needed. And that's exactly what Brad is thinking about. All right, some of these players are not going to make it. Some of these players are going to get banged up. And when they do, what Dan always says is we're going to need all those players at some time. At some point, we're going to need them. I hate it when he says it. He said it again today. And the last time he said it, we lost everybody on the defense. So the reason why I'm starting with this and kind of talking about this is because now the evolution of this team has come to that boiling point where this team is either going to sink or swim, right? You've got a great group of guys. You've got some amazing quality starters. Brad has done a great job at bringing in free agents that fit the team, but also play some pretty damn good football. And he's hit on just about everything. You couldn't have asked for a better GM. You couldn't have asked for a better draft. You couldn't have asked for better free agents than what the Lions have done the last 5 seasons, or 4 seasons plus this season. So 5 seasons. You really couldn't. And it really boggles my mind up when I see the hate, the anger, the resentment, the questioning. I don't know of another time in my lifetime that we've ever had anything close to this. We haven't. And honestly, you go look around at a lot of the other teams. You can't tell me that more than 2 or 3 teams in the NFL have done what this team has done in such a short amount of time, number one. And number two, having to start from the very beginning. I mean, it's almost like they built a brand new building and then got the keys on, 5 seasons ago and started. It's exactly what it was like. But instead of starting out with a fresh cap, they started out in the hole. All right, they started out upside down. They spent a little too much money on the build. So they had to dig into their own pockets. That's what it's like. It's not like, the Packers that have had residual quarterback play for 30 plus years. All right. It's not like that. It's not like, the Chiefs, who, same thing. All they have to do is reload a little bit every year. Or Baltimore having to reload a little bit every year. It's not like that. But why are those teams so good? Right? Why did they do so well? And they didn't hit on every draft pick. And yes, they brought in some players that didn't make it. They had 3rd, 4th, 5th rounders wash out. There's not many teams that have had this many players that Brad has selected last this long on a roster. And that is where we are today. And so when we do see a player like Broderick Martin probably not make the roster, right? He's probably not going to make the right. He might make the practice squad. He's definitely not going to make the roster. The only way he does is if there's other injuries or the Lions are going to utilize some lists for some of the other players, right? But we are now at a point where the roster is too deep and too good that some really good football players are going to get cut. We said it last year. It's twice as bad this year. So I'm saying all that because I started out by telling you that my article, for some reason, I didn't drop it, or it didn't drop. I don't know if I put the wrong date on it or what, but it will be done and dropping probably later on tonight. I have to go in and change the date or something. But it goes pretty deep, so it's a different type of an article. It talks about, it's probably 5 articles in one, honestly. It's going to be long. It's going to be really long. There's going to be a ton of information in it. But it's just kind of what I do a few times a year. And I owe you guys a lot of writing anyway, because I haven't been writing a whole lot. I write every day, but I never turn it into articles. Okay, tonight, live Q&A, meaning you ask questions, I answer them. I also have the mailbag that I dip into, and that's what I'm going to dip into right now. Let me go in and check the mailbag. See what we got. All right, first question. I know this one just came in earlier today. In today's discussion, today's discussion involved Glasgow in backup position with Ratledge being the preseason, and we are already thinking he may be thrown in there. Do you think that we need to seriously look for a vet backup at center or a multi-tool offensive lineman? I honestly think that Holmes is going shopping for 4-1 when the 53-man cuts happen, or even a trade, since we are heavy at wide receiver. I think that we as fans are overlooking the importance a center has. He makes the calls, the changes. He is a leader of the offensive line. Just a concern. Okay. Concerned fan. I think you're right. I think that fans do glorify. Or I'm sorry, I don't think they give center enough credit. Now you're going to see what a weekend is without Frank Ragnow, right? In our first game, you're going to realize what we had in Frank Ragnow. And I'm hoping that the Lions will be able to manage it this season. Without a center, this offense is not going to run right. We went over some conversation earlier today that I was talking about Penei Sewell and how he and Taylor Decker weren't even a top 32 in pass pro. And you now don't have Frank Ragnow? Oh boy. That's a big problem. When you're starting right tackle, who's one of the top paid tackles in the league, is in the, somewhere between 35 and 40 ranked in the NFL for pass pro, and Taylor Decker's ahead of him by like 5 spots. That's a problem. Now, we didn't have a big issue last year. We were able to put up over 7,000 yards, right, of offense. But why is that? That's because we had Kevin Zeitler, who was knocking it out of the park. That dude was elite almost every week, it seemed like, in pass pro and run block. Frank Ragnow was the same. Now, he had his moments, but that dude was a man's man, and he took care of Jared Goff. And on the left side of the line, with Graham Glasgow, he did not have a great year. He didn't. So right now, there's a big question. Is Brad going to be shopping? Oh, I'm sure he already is. I asked the question during free agency when I said, man, Drew Dahlman just went to Chicago? Like, what happened? Why didn't Brad go after that dude? I know why. He wasn't going to fork out all that money for a center. He wasn't going to do it. Especially, it's the same conversation with getting another edge. He wants to draft his center. He doesn't want to bring in a high-priced free agent. Now, it just so happens if one gets cut, then the Lions are probably in a better situation. But until, a good center gets cut, which that doesn't happen very often because there's not very many great centers in the NFL as it is. Frank was elite. I mean, he was one of those rare gems. I'm going to just pull up the free agency list right now. And let's see who's available. I'm curious. I haven't looked at it yet. What I said earlier today was wishful thinking when I said, maybe Frank just comes back. What if Frank just comes back if needed? And to Eric's, message in the chat too, like, we don't know the extent of Glasgow's injury. He could be fine or he could be out. We don't know, right? We just don't know. I'm hoping that he's fine. I'm hoping that he just got twisted up, stepped on, rolled up on, and it's no big deal. That's what I'm hoping. But if it's anything more than that and he's out a while, I mean, Tate's going to have to... I'm not worried about Tate from the perspective of being a good offensive lineman at all. What I'm worried about is... I'm worried about Tate having a drink from a fire hose as a rookie. And the center position is one of the hardest positions... one of the hardest positions to play and learn in the NFL. That's what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about what kind of player he's going to become, even though we haven't seen it yet. I think I've seen enough to know that I think he's got, odds-on favorite chance to be a pretty good football player. So we don't normally do this, but if you have a question tonight, you can put it in caps so that I can see it. Okay? And try to tag me. Tag the channel, and then I'll see it even more. Or just tag the channel, then I'll at least see it. The chat's not flying right now, so I should be able to see most of them. So when I'm looking at, all teams, all center positions, and free agency type, well, we'll go to available. Oh, that's interesting. So I didn't see that interview. So Mueller in the chat just said the local news interviewed Ratledge today, and he is happy at guard and didn't like playing center because he thought he wasn't good enough to do it. So I mean, that could tell you right now. That could tell you right now that if he doesn't want to play center, he's probably not going to play center. You're probably going to leave him at guard. Let him do his thing. Right now, there is literally 5 centers available. 5. According to Spot Track, it's Nick Harris, Nick Gates, Sam Mustafer, Wesley French, and Dieter Eastlund. Dieter Eastlund? Either way, a bunch of nobodies. A bunch of nobodies. Yeah, none of these guys have experience. Outside of this guy from this Nick Harris, he's 27, or almost 27 years old. In 2024, he got in 5 games, 2 started, 90 snaps. In 2023, he played in 17 games, 2 started. In 2021, he played in 11 games, 1 start. In 2020, he played in 12 games with 1 start. So that's not great. Is there any UFL centers that are available? Lions seem to be reaching to the UFL quite a bit. This Nick Gates looks like he was formerly with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's almost 30 years old, 7 years of experience. Let's take a look at, well, I don't know why this looks different. It's supposed to give me his stats. I want his stats. Visual breakdown. What is that? I don't want that. Where's his stats? Maybe he doesn't have any. Interesting. Well, I guess at the end of the day, to answer your question, is Brad shopping? Sure. But I think, to your point in that question, I think it's going to have to be a trade. If there's really nobody available, according to this list. Now, obviously, I'm not doing a deep dive right now trying to find out who is really available. You might have to convert, a center guard. But this goes back to my concern a couple years ago when I said Frank was going to retire at some point, and then he comes rushing back after the NFC Championship game. And I said, this is the time you get a guard and a guard center combo. There was plenty of them that were available in 2024. And he passed it up. And right now we wouldn't be worrying about that position. To his credit, he didn't know that Frank was going to retire. I'm sure he had an idea. And I'll say it one last time. We don't know if Frank is really done. Like, he might just get that itch that he can't scratch unless he puts on a uniform. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not saying it's happened. We'll see if it happens. But next week will tell us a lot. Next week will tell us a lot. I think that we got some players on this team that can help us fill in for right now. We still have Kingsley. I mean, he can fill in. Nice, I think he's played some center too. But Kingsley can fill in, at the moment. I wouldn't be super excited about it. But then again, who knows, man? He may step in and be just fine. What I don't like is having 3 really young players in the center of this offense. Because if that's what we're going to have and they start to lose and give up a lot of pressure, then what's going to happen is you're going to end up having a tight end consistently in the backfield as an extra blocker. And now you're going to take away one of your weapons on offense. It'll totally transform this offense. And we might not win as many games because of it. It would totally ruin our ability to run the football. And if we can't run the football, then this team's not going to win many games. If the center position is extremely important as it is, like, this is the conversation. This could ruin a season. It really could. It's that important. Imagine what, I mean, just look what I just said. 3 young guys in the middle, a second-year player and 2 rooks. Well, 2 second-year players and a rook, of which none of them have had significant snaps. Hillman. So was there a report? I mean, there was tons of reports after practice. We just don't know what it is. We don't know what the full extent of the injury is. We're talking hypotheticals right now. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Good question. Did I answer everything in there? I think I did. There was another question in here about the trips. So every year I try to organize away game trips. 2 years in a row, we couldn't get enough people to submit their deposits. So I sent a bunch of deposits back. I'm going to try to at least organize one, which means you're going to have to pay, up front for your deposit, obviously, so we can get things locked in, but it's going to happen really quick. So I'll try to do it, but if for us to pull off a 50-person bus, we have to have at least 40 people go for it to make, dollars and cents. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. So I will try to get that organized. I'll pick a game. I was thinking the Cincinnati game, but I found out I have a wedding to go to, and that may hinder me going to the Cincinnati game. We'll see. And then I was looking at Baltimore or Philly. So those could be an option, but I'll get back to you guys this week on it, and we'll get it locked in. Maureen says we got only 60 people watching or so and 19 likes. Time to get those likes up. Please. All right, what's the next question tonight? Gripes and hype. So this is what it's about. No holds barred tonight. Like, the chat knows, the mods know. Like, gripes and hype means if you've got a gripe about this team, air it out. And if you got some hype about this team, let everybody know. That's what gripes and hype is all about. It's an open forum to, obviously speak your mind. We only have very few rules. We don't attack each other. Everyone can have an opinion. It's okay. If you don't like their opinion, doesn't mean you have to attack them back. You don't have to say anything at all, right? Have a fun debate. Be an adult about it. U of M Dad, can you open to the public, and where does it leave from? What do you mean, can I open to the public? What are you talking about? The bus trips? Yeah, they're open to anybody. And it would either leave from like Grand Rapids or Lansing or Detroit. Probably Detroit. I'll probably just pick Detroit since there's a lot more people over there. It's not that bad for me just to go over there and grab a hotel for the night or something and then leave in the morning. Probably leave out of Detroit, honestly. Especially if we're going to the east side. It doesn't make sense to leave from here and make people come here and then drive that way. So might as well just leave out of Detroit. All right, so I guess I'll ask you guys a question. If you're not going to ask the question, what are your biggest concerns about the team right now? We just suffered a few injuries. Ahmed Hassanin goes down. We don't know the full extent, the pectoral or chest injury. And when he's going to be back, it sounds like it's going to be multiple weeks. No surgery required. At least that's the thought now. Now look at the depth chart that the Lions put out. Let's be honest about something. The depth chart that they just put out, it showed that Ahmed Hassanin was 5th or 6th rotation. So how much of that is accurate? And number one, and number two, how much does that really affect the team? Personally, you'll find out in my article what I said about it. But personally, I don't think, with him going down right now is a huge cause for concern. Let him get healthy and come back the second half of the season when we're probably going to need some fresh legs. He already has a high enough motor as it is. What he's going to lose is he's going to lose some beneficial snaps, right? He's going to lose some more time of learning, and that's what's going to hurt him the most. But we also seen what happened with James Houston. When he came in the last half of that season and we needed somebody, he popped off, right? Helped us win some football games. That could be the same thing. Could be the same thing. Yes, so Graham was up and walking back to the locker room on his own power with no assistance. That is good news, right? That is very good news. Let's just hope it's minor, man. Let's just hope it's minor. We need Graham to be at his best this year. We really do. He had a down year last year. Now, I didn't prepare a ton for tonight, outside of the questions. So I'll dip into another question here. I try to leave it open to you guys. Actually, the phone line's supposed to be open, but unfortunately, my headphone, I think, is donezo, and I'm going to have to order some new ones. You think he'll be happier? What's this? You think he'll be happier at center than guard? Are you talking about Graham? Yeah, Svaki got injured today too, but he was fine as well. Attila, did you join the after practice update, the Eric Rintamaki report? Or the Rintamaki report, whatever I put on that thumbnail. That was a really good funny picture of Eric. How close are we to running the jersey raffles? Well, that's not football related, but I can go look. Brent. Oh. B's 9, we can trade if you want, man. We can definitely trade. I'll move out to Cali for a little bit. Gosh, this thing is bugging the hell out of me. Oh, gotta enter a code. I never understand why it says, you know, remember this device for 30 days. And then every time I sign in, I have to remember this device for 30 days. And I sign in every day. So clearly it doesn't work. You lied. All right, let's see what we have in here. It's going to take me a minute. Actually, let me get to another question, and then I'll come back to that. Oh, come on. Load it up. Let's go. I don't know why this thing is not loading. All right. Any questions in there? No? One sec. Let me just get to this. I'll check this for you, Brent. All right, so the Terry and Arnold jersey is way far away. That's 4. The Rocked On jersey is about a third of the way there. The Jahmyr Gibbs jersey. Wait, I got to check the dates on these. Hold on. Let's see. Terry and Arnold. Terry and Arnold is way far away. Nobody likes Terry and Arnold or what? No one wants to win a Terry and Arnold jersey? If you do, you just go to buymeacoffee.com/rocked on ROCKEDON. And you can buy a raffle ticket for $10. Let's see here. The Rocked On jersey. One. We're close. So the Rocked On jersey is about 10 or 15 orders away. Let's go to Gibbs. $70, $90, $30, $50, $90. Okay, so that one is about a third of the way there. Once we get in season, I'm sure we'll have a lot more people, and I got to do a better job at advertising, so that's my bad. That's my bad. I'll start advertising. We're pretty far away. Those were the 2 that had the most purchases of raffle tickets. So we're anywhere from a third to 2/3 away on all of them. It looks like. But we'll get there, man. We'll get there. Okay, so there's a question. Maureen says, why do people always blame the training staff? I don't know why. Like, I don't get it. The Lions have probably one of the best training staffs out there. They upgraded them again, like I think last season. You know, we went through some injury things the year before. They upgraded the training equipment. They brought in new trainers. I think they started a new partnership, and I think they've done a really good job. Honestly, I don't know why they blame him. I just think they're looking for people to blame. And why? You know, injuries are going to happen. 100% injuries are going to happen. They're going to happen. I think that they're doing just fine. All right, I'm going to dip into the mailbag. So here you go. Number one, what are the key factors that will determine the Lions' success in 2025? It's a good question. The second question was, how will the loss of the offensive and defensive coordinators impact the team's performance on both sides of the ball? I'm going to go with that because I think that the first question kind of highlights that too. So the offensive and defensive coordinator impact, look, I think it's big. I do. I mean, I think anytime that you switch out coaches, you're going to have a little bit of regression, right? That's expected. But this wasn't, I think there's a few differences or keys that maybe people are missing here. Let's answer it this way. Why did the Lions change their coaches? Right? Why did they change their coaches? It wasn't because they were terrible, right? It's because they exceeded, you know, how well they did, right? They did a pretty damn good job. So it's different when you're replacing coaches that sucked and you have to completely redo the scheme and you have to start over. Right? This team was winning games. This team was scoring the most points in the league. This team was shutting down the run game. Right? On the other side of the football. Yeah, they could have done better in the pass game on defense. But you're talking about both sides of the football and special teams, by the way, one of the best special teams units in the league. So when we talk about this, I mean, it seems to pop up quite a bit. Everyone is so concerned about the coaches. I would be more concerned about what is Aaron Glenn and what is Ben Johnson going to do as head coaches and how much difficulty they're going to have. That's what I would rather talk about because I think it's going to be a plenty. I think that Aaron Glenn is going to have better success. But that's not the question. The question is, how will the loss of the offensive and defensive coordinators impact the team's performance? And I'll be very blunt with it. I think that John Morton is going to have some hiccups. I think that we should be slightly concerned that he may not get in a good stride right away with these guys, but they've been working their ass off all summer long. And I think that is the key to this, is getting in a good stride with your quarterback and the team understanding who you are and being able to trust you, right? The team could trust what Ben was going to call. They could trust what Dan is going to do. And let's not forget that Dan has the overriding control here, and he's in the ear of everybody. So he knows everything that's going on. If he doesn't like it, he'll stop it. My biggest concern with the offense is the fact that Morton is in the box. That's my biggest concern. With Morton upstairs, I said this the other day, or was it this morning? I asked Eric, I said, what is the one thing that Jared Goff did after every play? Right? He would look to the right or the left, whatever side he was on, right? And he would look to the sideline. That's not going to be there now. Dan will be there, right? Mark Brunell will be there, but Ben Johnson won't, and John Morton's going to be up in the box. I think that's going to be one of the things that's going to be a little bit tough for him in the beginning is to not have that guy on the sideline that you used to have there. And it's going to be a little bit of a different scenario when you got a guy up in the box calling the plays down. If Jared Goff is having some trouble hearing, right? What if Jared Goff is having some trouble hearing? At least we know this. Jared's going to be going to Dan Campbell off to the sideline whenever there's a timeout. He's going to be going to Dan whenever there's an issue, whenever there's an injury. He's not going to be going to Ben. He's going to be going to Dan. So I do like that. I think that's an upgrade, that he gets to have a conversation with Dan. But offense as a whole, I think that they're not going to change much. If anything, they're probably going to find what they do well this year, and they're going to stick with it. I think that John Morton is, based on what we've learned about him, I don't think he's going to be some stubborn guy, right? I don't think that he's going to be somebody that, just kind of stops doing something because he has to stick to his plan, right? I think that if he sees something that's working, he's going to stick with it. I think that's the most important thing about being a coach in the NFL, even though I've never been one, is having enough gall, right, to go off script. It's okay, right? If it's winning, if it's working, do it. When it's not working and you stick to the script, that's when everybody just wants to come through the TV and choke you out. For instance, the dumbest play that I've ever seen in NFL history. That's right. There's been a lot of plays in NFL history. Was a 3rd and 1 at the 17-yard line. And we passed the ball. 3rd and 1. That was not the time for Ben to listen to me when I kept crying and bitching and screaming about go to the end zone. Stop getting into the red zone and then just trying to dink it and dunk it all the way to the end zone. I wanted him to start getting it to the end zone. That was not the time, Ben. That was not the time. That was the time to continue doing what worked well. Run the ball. Run the frickin' ball. I think Martin's going to be calculated, reserved, mature. I hope that he's not overset in his ways. I think that what we've seen so far is good relationship between him and Jared Goff, the team, and Dan Campbell. There's a reason why he's back. And then I think Shaw. Just every time I see Shaw, man, he's got this big ear-to-ear smile on his face. I don't know if he just feels like a kid in a candy store. Like the big General candy store there in Banner Elk, North Carolina. I love that place, the General Candy Store. Love it. Love it. Big old whiskey barrels just full of candy. Thousands and thousands of different types of candy in there. But I think that's what Shaw is like right now. Every time I see him, the dude is so freaking happy. He's just out there having fun because he's looking around. He's got all these weapons. He's just having a blast. So that's the offensive side of the football. I know I'm really not answering the question, but I really don't think, I don't think that we're going to have a ton of hiccups. I think there's going to be a few, but I don't think we're going to have a ton. The key factor for the offense is the fact that they've done it before. He was here before, right? That's a key factor. The key factor is that there's a relationship with Dan Campbell. The key factor is that Martin's been doing this for 20 some odd years, 28 years or something like that. And he's always been on the offensive side of the ball. I'm just going to take this thing out because it's worthless. On the defensive side of the ball, what are the key factors for the defense? What is the impact for the team's performance for the defense losing the coordinator? I know as well as you that there's been quite a few people that have come to jump on Aaron Glenn's throat over the last couple of years. On the hot seat, fire him now, yada, 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 right? I was never one of those guys. I did get critical at times of certain things that he was doing, like getting too aggressive. The Washington game, again, the second stupidest thing that I've ever witnessed in my life was the Washington game blitzing against the RPO on every freaking play, or 54% of the plays. That was the second dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I'll never understand it, right? I'll never get why both of those guys never did that before. I have a hard time believing that was the plan, with Dan Campbell. And if it was, and Dan Campbell was cool with it, man, then I've got more questions. I just don't see how. I mean, you see the teams that beat the Commanders, and it wasn't by doing that. It was not by doing that. If anything, it was the exact opposite. So, to answer the question, I do believe that Kelvin Shepherd is in the right place at the right time. You know, sometimes you end up in the right place at the right time. It's just you. It's your turn. And that's just what's been laid out for you. And I think that Kelvin Shepherd is there. Everything that I've seen in camp so far, some of the videos that we've watched, all you see is a guy that's leading from the front. He's consistently, talking up the guys. Good, positive talk, right? And at the same time, he's doing his job. Like, if he sees some things he doesn't like. I think that Kelvin Shepherd might be a better defensive coordinator than what Aaron Glenn will be. I think that Aaron Glenn is definitely going to be a good head coach in this league. I think that Aaron Glenn is a damn good defensive coordinator. I do. But I think that Aaron Glenn is also really stubborn. And I don't think that being stubborn in the NFL is a good way to win. I think that you need to be fluid. You need to be able to think on your feet. You need to be able to change, and pivot on a dime, and not all coaches can do that. Not all coaches will do that. Not all head coaches will allow that. But I think that Kelvin Shepherd is in the right place at the right time. He knows the defense from the inside, right? He was the linebacker. He was a linebackers coach. He understands what it means to have a good or great defensive line and what it means to allow those guys to do their job and to not, overcompensate and try to get after the quarterback too much, but also to send everything through the middle. Again, if you've been here since day one, I've been telling you all from day one that going through the middle was the best way. It's the most natural way. It's the easiest way. And the minute you break that center link, like I said this morning, of that chain, man, that chain link that those offensive linemen are holding, the minute you pop that center link, the same reason why I'm worried about Tate Ratledge at center, the same reason why I'm worried about Kingsley at center, is because those two don't have the experience. And their chain is going to get popped. Right? I could use another CH word, but we'll use chain. So it's going to get popped, and that's what Kelvin Shepherd's going to focus on. He's going to focus on sending the pressure through the middle. And when you do that and you spread that offense out, that's when those ends can go and eat, right? But they need to contain chaos on the outside, right? Handle that edge. Let your linebackers do the work. And that's another reason why I don't believe in this. You have to go out and sign all these big-time edge rushers because right now this defense is headed in a different direction. It's going to be led. The charge is going to be led from the middle. It was not before. Aaron Glenn was consistently putting Aiden Hutchinson, on the outside to go and fire at the quarterback. And I'm not saying that that's going to change. I just think it's going to be a dial that's implemented with Kelvin Shepherd. And that dial is like, okay, on this play, we're going to go 10%, right, on the outside, and we're going to go 80% on the inside, right? And then maybe the next play he's going to dial it back a little bit and say, all right, Aiden, you're going to go, but I'm going to hold back my linebackers a little bit. I think that he's going to mix it up to the point where you're never going to know what's coming. And that's what a good DC is going to do. And I think that Kelvin Shepherd will do that. I really do. What's up, Cruisin'? I think that Kelvin Shepherd will do that. Man, now my mic wants to fall. So I hope I answered the question. Yeah, that JMO pass was stupid too. Yeah, I'm a secret Jets fan this year. Something about that green and white, man. They don't cheat. What was that? You say something? Better get my soundboard going here. Okay, next question. Status of Aleem. We've kind of gone over that. That might be an old one. Players on active PUP and NFI list. How does this impact the overall roster strategy? I went over that a ton too. I think I beat that one pretty bad. Appreciate that, Mueller. Says you're a super host. Keep up the good work. $1.99 super chat. Appreciate you, man. You're a super audience member. You're a super fan. Whatever you are, keep on doing it. Keep on doing it. Let's get you lit up tonight. I will work on some new sounds. And yes, I failed to get fantasy football done. I promise you, it'll get done tonight. Right tomorrow. And we'll be drafting by next week. Where's all my sounds at? Did I delete everything? All right, let's get you lit up, Mueller, with Gibbs.
They give it to Jameer. Big hole. There he goes down.
Which I can't hear it, so I have no idea when it's going to be done.
End zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 25 yards.
All right, so Salty, yes. Big time baseball guy in my past. Semi-pro ball. Man, I miss being in that kind of shape. I have not been paying attention to the Tigers over the last, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 weeks. They were on a downslide for a while. They were losing quite a few games. And I have no idea what they've done, honestly. I have not paid attention. But we're getting in that part of the season where I will. It's going to be playoffs here pretty soon. And I still want to get to a game. I really do. Their tickets have gone crazy, just like the Lions. Warren Reed, U of M Dad, just sent a membership out in Nap God. Love that. Nap God just won the membership. I don't know if Nap God is in the chat tonight. That's pretty cool. Nap God. That's a funny name. Nap God, let's get you dialed up, man. Welcome in. We'll give you the Amik missile hit.
On 3rd and 14, Jones has got it, setting up a screen, and it's blown up. Oh, my goodness. Amik Robertson just sent ETN back to Jacksonville. What a hit.
All right, Sustained Vision just dropped one in. Says, I know the Lions make teams one-dimensional, but can Detroit's secondary be better, like not giving up as many yards? That's a great question. And here's how I would answer it. I think I've touched on this before. Let's kind of start with what happened last year and the year before. The Lions are in this goofy situation, right? Where, and I'm not saying that this is true for every team that has this problem. It's just true for the Lions right now while they're rebuilding. I think that they kind of relaxed on the secondary to a degree. And partly that was because of Aaron Glenn's scheme. When you're up by, 14, 18, 20, 24 points in almost every freaking game, it seemed like you got large leads and then you're forcing teams to pass. Well, you're going to give up a lot of pass yards, right? If they're not running the football, if those rush yards now turn into pass yards. Matter of fact, let me pull up some stats while we're talking about that. If those rush yards turn into pass yards, then it does make sense that they gave up a lot, because you're not allowing the team to run and they're passing more. They're passing more for a couple of reasons. One, they have to make up the lead, right? The teams are playing from behind. The Lions are out in front, and their opponent is having to play catch up. So where I'm going, I'll have to find stats in a minute. So where I'm going with that is this. Last year we had a pretty good secondary. Like when they really needed to shut a team down, every time they got into the red zone, they didn't let teams score. They didn't let them score on the ground. They didn't really let them score through the air. They had one of the best third down. They're one of the best third down teams and one of the best red zone teams for a defense. They also dialed up the third most pressure in the league last year. But I think the problem was bend but don't break defense. You're giving up everything that's like under 9 yards. If you throw the ball 8 times in a drive for 6, 7, 8, 9 yards, and the Lions are letting you get that, and then you smash a run and get a first down, and then you come back and pass it 2 more times, and then you smash it for a run. I mean, you're just limping your way all the way down the field, which again happened quite often. But also a lot of those yards, like if we were to really go back and look at it, this would be a great project that we should have started 4 months ago, is go and look at how many yards they got in the fourth down. How many yards did the opposing team have in the fourth down, or in the fourth quarter, right? For passing. Because I think that would then open up your eyes or my eyes too, and probably make us realize that our DBs weren't that bad. It's just they're playing from a giant lead, and teams are going to pass more. So this year, can it be different? I do think it can be a little bit different, because not only are we going to hopefully be playing from leads again, but now we have a healthy team, and that's the other thing. Last year, man, we didn't have a healthy team. I don't need to tell you that. You know that. So the DBs got stressed out the most because they didn't have the linebackers in front of them, their first line of defense. Then they didn't have, the edge or the defensive tackles. They didn't have anybody, right? It was pretty much the DBs on the field, and then everybody else was injured, and they were like third, fourth replacements. We had Jack Campbell, right? We had Jack Campbell out there, and then we had some DBs, and everybody else was kind of filling in. They were coming off practice squads. They were coming off the couch. So that put a ton of stress on the DBs. And if I were a team scheming up against that, and I'm going to say, look, yeah, I'd love to run, but for some reason they're still able to shut the run down. We just need to go up top. We just need to attack them through the air. They don't have anybody. And that's what they did to us. So I think that's the biggest reason, is the fact that we were so injured that teams schemed up, against us to attack us through the air. That's what I really think happened. This year, I think it could be different because of this reason. DJ Reed, Terry and Arnold's second year, Brian Branch and Kirby, Amik Robertson, all 5 of those guys getting a second run or 4 of those guys getting a second run together, and DJ Reed is so far been great. I think it's going to be one of the best DB rooms in the league, and as long as Calvin Shepard doesn't do what Aaron Glenn was doing, I really hate the single high safety. I really do. We're putting our guys in man so much that you're really stressing those guys out. All the other teams that are, probably at the top of the list there, they're playing in cover 2, cover 3, cover 4. Cover 2 at a minimum, right? Probably a lot of cover 3. And you're getting those safeties over top to come down and break up the play. So the DB's got to hold them a little bit, and then the safety comes down and just swats the ball away or makes a play on the ball. That's the difference between what the Lions do and what other teams are doing. The Lions are playing man like, I don't know, 70% of the time or something crazy like that. There's not a whole lot of teams that do that. But the Lions do. And it's a defense that it can fold you up like a tent. If you're playing well, you're going to shut teams down. If you're not playing well, it's going to show. Right? If you're not feeling good even one day, and you're man on man with somebody, you're just going to get your ass kicked all day. It's that simple. So I think there's a lot of different things we could say with that, Stain, but I do believe us being healthy, second run with some of these guys. I think Calvin Shepard is going to dial up a smarter defense than maybe what Aaron Glenn was trying to run last year, which I think Aaron Glenn he's so much testosterone that he's like, we're going to put our balls on the counter and you put your balls on the counter. We're just going to go at it. That's how I envision Aaron Glenn. He just wants to go 1,000% of the time as opposed to playing smart. Sometimes you just got to play smart. With a healthy defense, do I see more interceptions? It's a good question. That's a really good question. Okay. I guess immediately I would say no. And it kind of goes back to what I said a minute ago. With a bad defense, right? A defense that was injured, teams were kind of going up over top on us, right? I think if we're healthy, teams are probably not going to pass the ball as much because we should be getting in their face pretty quickly. And it may not give us an opportunity to get the ball all the time. But last year, I mean, we kind of knew that the ball was coming out, right? We knew that it was a pass more often than not. Now I'm interested, though. I'm interested in the stat count. But I think with a healthy defense, number one, obviously we're going to get after the quarterback a little bit more. We're definitely going to shut down the run. And when those two things happen, yes, naturally a team's going to pass the football. I just think with us being healthy for once, hopefully, right, that we're going to pop the ball out more. I want to see more turnovers, just like Dan does. I think we'll get ours. I don't think that... Okay, let me walk this back a little bit. Last year, I think we were, 17th, 18th in interceptions? We could have more, if you will, than we did last year, but I don't think just because of a healthy defense we're going to have more. Let me put it that way. I still think we could have more, but it's not just because of the healthy defense. How do I find... I'm going to have to find that stat. Let me write that down. All right, what's next? Yeah, Aaron Glenn definitely waited until it was too late to make defensive shifts. I do want to see, Terry and Arnold get in there and make some hay this year, but then again, I just want them to play smart, man. Just play smart. Just do what's natural. What time is it? All right, we got about 10 more minutes here. All right, next question. Oh, I don't like this question at all. Well, here's a good one. What should we expect from Jameson Williams this season? After his previous injuries, suspensions, and last year breaking 1,000, is he poised for a breakout year? Well, let me ask you guys, what do you think? Is he poised for a breakout year? What do you think he's going to get? So that question came in here. You guys answer it. What do you think he's going to do? What do you consider breakout? Last season I said that we would have 4 players that would reach 1,000 yards. This year, I think it's going to be a little bit different. I don't expect Amon-Ra St. Brown to have to get 1,500 yards. I don't expect that at all. I don't think he has to. I think Amon-Ra has to do what Amon-Ra does. Just catch the football, score touchdowns. But now that we have these legit threats, Isaac Tesla is going to be a problem. Tim Patrick is now fully healthy. We've got two of the best running backs in the league. And then, Sione Vakin can come in every once in a while on trick plays and do his thing. This is an offense that you can score from any direction, any position on the field. And I think that bites into Jameson Williams' ability. Brent says Waymo's going to get 90 for 1,800. And see, I don't see that. I think that Jamo's probably going to end up 1,200 yards. How many catches did he have last year? I don't remember. $58. He had 58 for 1,001, and he had 7 TDs. Well, you know what? He is going to get 2 extra games this year, right? Wasn't he out 2 games last year, or was it 3? How many games did he miss last year? Do we remember? Let me look it up. All right, so last year he was in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So he missed 2 games. He missed 2 games. All right, regular season. All right, I'll step him up one more. I'll go 1,250, and I'll go 65 catches. 1,250 and 65. 1,250 and 65. I'm gonna put this on Twitter, so we got a place to go find it later. Jameson Williams stats call. We go 1,250 yards, 65 catches, 11 TDs. I won't do any rushing or anything like that. There you go. It's posted. That's what I think right now. 1,250, 65 catches, 11 TDs. And I'm going to bet it too, even though I don't bet. I'm sure I got some free money in there. Oh my goodness. Will Carter will be in a new father. Give Jared Goff a stat. What is that? A stat nerf or a buff? What does that mean? What does that mean? I don't know what that one is. What is a stat nerf? Stat nerd? Bump up? Or a buff? I have no clue what that means, buddy. What the hell is Lemgren? I don't know what that is either. All right, final question. Final question. Those are video game terms for will. It'd be a positive or a negative nerf. Is takeaway and a buff is addition. Video game terms for will. It'd be a positive or a negative. Yeah, that's like, Will, you just went way over my head, bro. Way over my head. All right. I'm going to, yeah, way over my head. Okay, more stats or better stats? There we go. Now you're speaking layman's terms to me. Nerf means worse stats, lower stats. Where does that stuff come from? It said it's a video game term. Like, I don't play video games. And even if I did, it was like years and years and years and years ago. Okay. So, Jared Goff having a kid. Is he going to have better or worse stats because of the kid? Right? Is that what we're saying? Because he's a new dad. He's got that new dad strength. No, you're all good, Will. It just went over my head. Like, I didn't get it. But I understand it now, I think. Let me go back and read the original question. Where is the original question? All right. Will being a new father give Jared Goff a better stats or lower stats? I'm going to have to stick with lower on this. And it's not because of the dad. All right. It's not because he's a new dad, new father. I think it's just because the offense was so good last year. I mean, I think they were a few hundred yards away from breaking an NFL record for best ever, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to have to go that we regress a little bit in stats. But that doesn't mean we regress as an offense. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that it's really hard to do what we did last year. If we go out and throw, here, let's just do this. 2024 NFL offense stats. Total team offense. Points scored. The Lions scored 33.2 points per game. That's crazy. We have 3 points better than the next team, which is Buffalo Bills. We had 69-62 in yards, 409 yards per game, 50 yards more than the Bills. All right, let's see. Where did we rank? We were second in yards per game. The Baltimore Ravens had 20, let's see, not 20, 13, 14, 15 more yards than us per game. They had 7,224 yards. So they had about 300 more yards than us. So we were second in yards. We were second in yards per game. Passing, we were second in passing by less than 200 yards to Joe Burrow. Rushing, we were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We were sixth in rushing by about 700 yards to Baltimore, about 600 yards to the Eagles, and then it was really tight after that. So third, fourth, fifth, and sixth place were all within, 150 yards or so. So, I mean, yeah, could we do better? We could. I mean, we could definitely do what they did last year. We could be first across the board. We could. But I think right now, with the focus on John Morton saying that he wants explosives, I don't know. Something just tells me we're going to get out to big leads and then we're just going to eat up clock. And so if we're eating up clock, then there's just not a ton of opportunity to score, and continue to push the ball. We could end up flip-flopping. We could have a lot more rush yards this year because we're going to be eating the clock a lot. I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens, man. All good questions. Good thoughts. I like where your head's at. I want to see us do better too. Who knows? We'll know. We'll find out soon enough. All right, there's one more in here. Are we more potent in offense skill positions than last year by Ornery U of M, Dad? 1,000%. 1,000% we are better than last year. And the reason why is because of time, right? Chemistry, consistency, cohesion. I think that we're way better. The more time these guys have. The biggest, look, I think that the biggest upside to this year is Jamison Williams. I really do. I think that his maturity and the way that he has developed over the offseason, I think that is going to be our surprise superpower. Our surprise superpower. Like, if J-Mo had a superpower, it would be his laugh. Honestly. His superpower is his laugh. He just needs to stand at the line and just start laughing at the corner across. Like, what would you do if you're lined up from Jamison Williams and he's just laughing at you hysterically like he does with that high-pitched laugh that he has? That would just, like, demoralize you because you're thinking, man, this dude's just going to burn right by me. I could see him just standing there laughing at dudes. Or just laughing, like, not even looking, just, ha, 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 just laughing like he does. You know what I mean? And then just, see ya, gone. I think it'd be hilarious. He's going to have to put that in, for a request. He's got to start laughing at the line of scrimmage. The refs are kind of probably look at him like, well, what are you doing? Like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? I think it'd be funny. J-Mo just needs a laugh. Yeah, we watched it the other day. We watched that clip the other day. It was pretty. It was great. It was great. I mean, it just makes you smile, right? It makes you like, he's got me smiling now because he just he's electric, man. Everything about J-Mo, he's electric. His attitude, his energy, it's infectious, and it's a good turn for him because before there was a lot of unknowns. There was a lot of unknowns with him and how he was going to climb out of, this little hole that he was in. He's in a rut. And he's gotten himself out, I think, the best way possible. And that's by enjoying life and continuing to do great things, giving back to the community. So good for J-Mo, man. Super, super proud of him. Impressed for him. But all right, let's let's get out of here. We'll see how I'm feeling for the morning. I was even not tempted to do this tonight, or tempted to not do this tonight. But anyway, we'll see how I'm feeling tomorrow. Otherwise, we'll see you by Monday, and we'll get everything ready for fantasy football this weekend. Do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. This is the goofy part of the year. We're almost done. Like, the season's almost here. Things are going to start ripping, and we're going to be out in front of it. So y'all have a good night. And no, it was fine. It was fine, Maureen. It was good. It was all right. Y'all have a good night. We'll catch you guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.